Hey Perrin, welcome to call number 4 here. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Doing great. It's been another fun week in the internet marketing world,
That's right.
and we're ready to dive into some more action here.
All right.
So, um, yeah, this is our fourth official call, so it's been about 4 weeks since we started this project, and I don't know if for people listening in, if it feels like maybe we haven't made as much progress super rapidly. Um, but this is such a critical aspect, the finding the winning keyword, that I think it's important that we spend a lot of time on it. And tonight, you have found your keyword, your winning keyword, and so we're going to jump into that. So I'm excited.
Yep. All right.
So the assignment for last week was indeed, as it shows here, to decide on a general strategy and to find a winning keyword. And maybe those come in a different order. Really, you find your winning keyword first, and then we decide on the general strategy as far as, is there one primary keyword on the homepage that you're targeting, or are you going more of a brandable strategy? And we'll dive into that. But let's just jump right into the keyword itself. How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds good, man. Let's do it.
And since you found the keyword, why don't you give us a little bit of background on how you found the keyword, when you actually found the keyword, and things like that?
Yeah, so the funny thing is, it was one of the first ones that I found. It
Mm-hmm.
was in that initial list. And so we didn't reveal it, so nobody, stop the video and try to go find it because we didn't include it in that list. But you really liked it. I really liked it. I feel like when I found it, I more or less got lucky because the list overall had lots of bad keywords in it. Um, but the one thing that we didn't like about it, we can probably talk about it in a second, was it had kind of low traffic. So one of the things that I was sort of continuously looking at over this period of weeks when I was thinking about keywords and researching more keywords and trying to settle on something was how big this niche is going to be. So I had this keyword as kind of like a safety net keyword that I could fall back on. And as I was researching for lots of other keywords, I was sort of checking on secondary keywords and getting a feel for how many articles I could write, the competition for secondary keywords, what other niche websites were doing in this marketplace. Um, and in the end, after we gave up some great ones in our
Yeah.
last call,
Yep.
um, I sort of came back to this one as something that, one, I feel like is something I can rank for. Um, has a fairly big niche where I feel like I can get at least 50 articles pretty easily, and I think down the road, 100 is definitely not a stretch at all for this niche. And also, it's something that I'm interested in and I do every day, and it'd be
Yep.
fun. And for everybody listening, we're gonna try our hardest not to say the keyword because we want to get out ahead of anybody who decides to compete.
Yeah. So on that point, I do want to mention that, and I know people are going to be disappointed listening that we're not going to reveal the winning keyword right now. So if you want to just turn the video off, by all means, please do. Sorry, but we hopefully we do cover a lot of interesting things. We are going to reveal the keyword soon, but
Hmm.
not tonight. And as Perrin mentioned, the reason that we're not doing that is we want to give him just a week or two, maybe 2 weeks, to at least get the site up, get some content out there, because inevitably somebody is going to copy this niche, and probably half a dozen of you out there listening are going to build a site on the exact same keywords and are going to be direct competitors. Just like happened for my survival knife site, there
Yeah.
has to be at least half a dozen to a dozen sites that are really just based on my site. And
Yep.
so I know that's going to happen. It comes with the territory because a lot of people are following this project. So for at least tonight and the next week or two, Perrin and I are going to not reveal the specific niche or keyword just to give us that time. But we are going to do our best to give you an idea of exactly what we're talking about. So let's go through some of these bullet points that I mentioned. You said that the keyword you found actually was in the first list of, I think, 10 keyword ideas you presented to me. And so if people look back at that list, they can see your other, I think, 8 or 9 or something like that. I removed this particular keyword because when I saw it, and we're going to show what my feedback was, but it was by far the easiest out of the list to rank for. I was pretty excited about the low competition nature of it. But the downside is that it didn't quite have that 5,000 searches a month that we wanted. So what was the search volume on that keyword?
1,900.
So 1,900 searches per month. So that's kind of the reason that we kept it on the back burner for a while, because we were hoping to find a keyword that was just as low competition, but maybe got higher search volume. So, the problem is with only that amount of search volume, if you're to rank number 1 in Google, you might make a couple $100 a month if you're lucky, but much more than that is really stretching it based on that keyword.
Yeah.
And of course our goal here is to make at least $500 a month and hopefully more. But the general niche, as you mentioned, is a big niche, lots of related keywords and a lot of low competition keywords, and so there's potential for a lot of secondary keywords. And so overall niche is big, there's a lot of related keywords, and you have an interest in it's something you frequently do. So we're going to give out some clues to people. And I'm sure people are going to be savvy enough to probably piece it together. We'll see. Maybe there'll be some people that figure out what we're talking about before we actually reveal it. But what you did is, before our call, you actually put together a PDF, essentially of the top 10 results in Google, but you removed the keyword, you removed sort of all identifying factors for what the keyword is. So let's take a look at that.
Yeah.
So here it is.
It's beautiful.
It really is. I'm amazed. I mean, look at this.
Clip art skills?
Yeah. The copy and paste skills are amazing.
Yeah, I know.
No, it's great. So the mystery keyword. Yes, we're not going to talk about it, but why don't you walk us through this keyword? Tell us what you saw.
Yep, sure. 1 second, let me open it. Okay, so on the very top, you can see the stats that everybody has seen for most of the keywords in that list. So I had a keyword competitiveness of 24. I think when I searched it today, it had moved a little bit. It was 26 or something.
Yeah, and results in Google do change from day to day, so that could probably be it. But yes.
Yep, and the CPC was 72 cents, which was kind of over our benchmark of 50 cents, and today it was even higher. It was like $1.38 or something.
Okay.
High advertiser competition. It's a product-based keyword, and it's something that is sort of like a daily use type of item. So there's lots of opportunities for selling, so the competition for advertisers is going to be really high. Pages with the exact match keywords 3, and you can see some of the other data here. So the first thing that we looked at with the other sites, or what I slowly sort of trained myself to look at with the other sites, is to scan the top URLs for niche sites. And in this one, we had one relatively small niche site, and then a couple larger review type niche sites, or two niche sites rather, and then one larger review type website. And people, if you're if readers or viewers were following along in the other videos, you saw those types of sites. You know what we're talking about, like the top 10 review site, which just has top 10 blah 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 for just like thousands of different things. So
Right.
the large niche site that is on there is one of those type of sites. And then there were two forums. So I guess there were like six sites overall that got us really excited about this. There were two small niche sites, one large niche site, a Squidoo page, and then two forums. So of the top 10 results, six looked like they were relatively weak sites.
Yep.
Um, and then for the title, all of the titles were mostly relevant, but only three of them had the exact match keyword, which was kind of promising. And then there were a lot of pages with page authority below 30, and a couple hovering around the 20 mark, and that one niche site, which is towards the top, has a page authority of only 10, which obviously is really encouraging.
Right.
And then also there were only two sites with pretty much any juice page links at all, which is always a good sign. What else? I think that's about it. There weren't any particularly young sites, but still some weak ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think you pretty much nailed it there. All those things that we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks, this keyword exemplifies having weak types of sites in the top 10. You've got the niche sites, forums, a Squidoo page, and then, of course, low amount of juice page links on most of the sites, low page authority for at least a few of those sites, all those great things. And you also copied in my initial thoughts that I wrote a week or two ago about this keyword, that if people want to read that as we're, have this posted here. But basically, that's exactly what I'm saying here is, I'm seeing these weak types of sites. Some of the page titles aren't using the exact keyword, in the title. All of those types of things are really great that I know we could rank for this keyword. And then I mentioned the only downside is that it's only 1,900 searches per month, and maybe we could find other related keywords to target, things like that.
Yep.
So it's really a great keyword, but not ideal. So
Yep.
What we've decided to do is basically the example that we looked at last week when we looked at that bike site. I think it was Dave's Cheap Bikes.
Yeah.
Essentially, his home page, he could be targeting the keyword cheap bikes, and then he had all these secondary pages where he could be targeting these low competition secondary keywords like what was it, cheap hybrid bikes or best hybrid bikes, something like that. So that's essentially what we're going to do. So let's talk about the strategy. We are going to, instead of having this small mystery keyword as our target on the home page, we are going to make, first we're going to make the site more brandable. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But the home page, we're actually going to target a bigger, more difficult keyword. More difficult in the sense that this isn't normally what we would build a site around, because it could possibly take a long time to rank for this keyword. Usually I like to target keywords that I know I can rank for within a couple of months. But in this case, we're going to have sort of the home page target the overall niche, the overall keyword that kind of describes this whole niche. And maybe we should think of an example to do this. For example, let's say, for my survival knife site, I'm targeting the keyword best survival knife. Let's say that keyword only got searched for 1,900 times per month, and it's not really a big enough keyword to build a big site on. So instead, I would target the keyword survival knife, which gets searched for, I think, 10,000 times per month, and make that my home page and make my secondary page best survival knife. And of course, I'd still try to rank for best survival knife first off to make some money, but in the long run, I'd try to rank for survival knife as well. So I don't know if that made sense for people listening, but that's essentially what we're doing. Homepage, target a bigger, more difficult keyword. Secondary page, target the low competition mystery keyword. And other secondary pages, target other low competition keywords.
Yep. And as you said in a previous call, when you choose that big keyword for the homepage, and I think the one that we chose for our homepage for Niche Site Project 2 it's like 14,000 search volume or something. So it's like a really hefty search volume. But as you said in a previous call, it's more like a bonus because everything that you do when you're building this site, like gaining links to other pages, like that's like kind of indirectly helping to boost that homepage, So long term, you may be able to rank for it and you may not, but if you do, it would be kind of icing on the cake.
Exactly. And so I'm actually going to pull up Longtail Pro, and we're going to look at your homepage keyword.
Yeah.
And so you already mentioned that it gets searched for around 14, and we don't have to give them the exact number, but it's right around 14 or 15K per month.
Yeah.
And actually, when we look at it, it's still within the realm of possibility for you to rank for this. It's not some insane keyword that you're never going to rank for. You definitely still have a chance.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at that. You and I are going to be able to see this keyword, but on the video I'm going to blur this out.
Yeah.
For everybody there. There, I've already got your other keyword there, but this one was... see if I can remember it without saying it. I've got your keyword typed in here, and I'm not sure what to talk about specifically here since I don't want to mention it, but first I'll talk about the titles of the pages. Most of them, most of them are using the exact phrase in the exact order. There are a couple that, like the 5th result here is not using the exact phrase, and the 9th result is not using the exact phrase, at least in the right order.
Yeah.
There. The overall page authority is fairly high for all of these. There are a couple that are in the low to mid 30s of page authority, so not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
And then there is also, what's very interesting, a couple of niche sites that are ranking. And that is at least one of the things that lets me know this is very doable. It has potential. For those looking at the screen, the 7th result is a niche site, if you will. It has a ton of juice page links, over 3,000, has very nice page authority. It's almost 3 years old, so that looks somewhat difficult when I see that. But then when I look at the 4th result, it actually has a lower, it has a lower page authority, has less juice page links, and is only 4 months old. And it's ranking number 4 for this high traffic keyword.
Yeah.
And when I look at the sites themselves, I think I know why that one is ranking higher. The fourth result actually has a better page targeting the particular keyword, does a better job of kind of reviewing the product, if you will. So I think it's actually better content, which is something we'll think about, is how we can make your homepage even better than what's out there.
Yeah, and that's promising too. So if a
Yeah,
page that seems quite a bit weaker than this page that has thousands of juice page links is beating it by a couple spots in Google, mostly because it has really great content, that's something we can replicate fairly easily.
I think so. I really do. So it's one of those results that, yes, it's overall pretty competitive, and it
Hmm.
doesn't have all those super weak types of sites like forums and Squidoo pages. So I would be a little hesitant normally just going into this market. But because we have found at least that other mystery keyword that is super low competition, I know we can rank for that. And if we
Hmm.
can get your homepage to target this one that gets tons of searches, a little more competitive, I really think we can get you to hit your goal and hopefully build a great site for you here. So
Yeah,
I am excited about it.
cool.
So overall, Parent, do you have any questions about the overall strategy, structure of the site itself?
Um, I do. I think as a segue into those questions, maybe I should talk about what the rest of the niche looks like to me,
Mm-hmm.
based on like the secondary keywords. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I was looking at the niche when we were kind of deciding whether or not to go into it, um, I went through the same process using Longtail Pro that I went into more or less when I was trying to find an initial keyword that I really wanted to target. Um, and a lot of those keywords didn't have as much traffic, so they didn't have, like thousands of visits, but a lot of them had 7 or 800 and were super low competition. So keyword competitiveness metric of like 18 or 19 or 22. So like
Mm-hmm.
really low competition, which can obviously, if you have 20 or 30 or 50, those articles can add up to a lot of traffic. And I think you told me in one conversation we had, I'm not sure if it was in a video or not, but um, like with Best Survival Night, the ending goal is to have about 90% of your traffic coming from these secondary keywords.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, that's basically what's happening with my survival knife site. I think about 10% of my overall traffic is coming from Best Survival Knife,
Hmm.
but outside of that, I am getting some referrals from other sites, but certainly most of the traffic is coming from these secondary long tail keywords.
Yep. Yep. So, um, thinking about the content strategy of targeting this one keyword. So the strategy is to target this low competition keyword that we've chosen and have the homepage target a loftier, still doable, but more difficult keyword. So after we've kind of gotten those two pages up,
Mm-hmm.
based on this overall content strategy, what do you think would be the next steps?
Yeah, great question. So let me just jot that down. Content strategy. Um, One primary article on homepage, targeting a big keyword. One secondary article um, on a secondary page, targeting low competition mystery keyword. Then you're going to want to at least get the site up to 15 to 20 articles. Okay, 15 to 20 articles before you then, once you have 15 to 20 articles, you'll then start focusing on promotion and link building. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we're certainly going to add more content than that, most likely very soon. But then you're going to, so add 15, let's say, more secondary articles that target very low competition keywords. So this might be those exact keywords you talked about. They might only get searched for, you know, well, I'm going to even say 200 to 1,000 times per month. That might be our sweet spot.
Yeah.
200 to 1,000 searches per month, and you're going to basically write articles on these, and the idea is to rank for all of those. I don't know, does that answer your question directly? But essentially we're going to do some more keyword research. We're going to pull those really low competition keywords that you already saw, and you're going to kind of cherry pick your 15 that you think you would have the best chance to rank for. But then also, based on your primary article, and you can kind of think about this for the type, it's going to be like a review type article. We can at least say that the review is like the top 10 products in this niche, if you will.
Yeah.
Some of those secondary articles, or eventually, you're going to take those 10 products and create entire pages, entire reviews based on that product name. Okay, so a review of product XYZ.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so, okay, yeah. So, I mean, is that something you did for your best survival knife guide site? Just, I mean, so you have this table of these products, and then you have a separate page that reviews each of those in depth?
Yeah. Yeah, basically, and I'm still going through those. So I've got about, almost 60 pages of, and when I'm saying pages for people listening, I mean they're posts, they're WordPress posts. But I have about 60, articles of content up there, and a good portion of those are reviews of individual knives that are on that chart.
Yeah. Did you choose those based on keyword research, or did you try to find like the most popular?
So basically what I did is the first 15 or 20 articles on the site were targeting these low competition keywords, kind of how I'm having you do. So I went out, and they weren't necessarily knife reviews. Some of them, were like, what is batoning? That's something people do with survival knives. What is, I don't remember. There was some other informational articles based on keyword research. And then I went back and said, okay, now the whole point of the site is I'm going to basically review every survival knife out there. And so I kind of started with the knives on my product list, and I didn't really do keyword research per se, but I basically said these are 50 knives. I want to do a review on all 50 of these knives.
Yeah.
It's a big strategy that I'm going to hit every single one of them. So that's what I've done, and I'm still, it turns out there's more than 50 survival knives out there, so I'm still, until I hit all of them, it might be 100 or 200 articles, all just reviewing all the knives in the world. But, that's what I'm doing right now, yeah.
And when you do that, do you research those keywords? So you have, like knife X or something. Do you, before you write an article, do you type that into the keyword tools and see like what around the article gets volume, or like what's the process?
No, yeah, not at this point. I'm not, just because I know that I've seen the success of the site, and I know that I just want to create a lot of knife reviews and a lot of content.
Yeah.
And so I know that there's long tail searches out there, but it really doesn't matter to me how much or how little there is at this point, because I want to cover every single knife, no matter how big or how small it is. And so I've just started at the top of the list and just going through every single one.
And is your decision to sort of cover every single knife, is that because you want to add value for the reader, or is it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it adds value to the reader, but I also know that there is search volume. I mean, I should back up and say, when I did my keyword research, I could clearly see that people were searching for
Mm-hmm.
these individual knife reviews. So I know
Yeah.
there's search volume out there, but I'm not going back and seeing how much for every single one. Again, just because I'm going to do every single
Yeah.
one.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. No, great
Yeah, it makes
question, though.
sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Hmm.
And so that's kind of how I see the same thing for you. At least the first 15 to 20 articles, I would focus on finding those low competition ones that can get your foot in the door to getting some traffic, and hopefully start making some money. Then after that, you might take a bigger picture approach. Think about, okay, how can I cover all the content in this entire niche? But we can talk about that down the road. But this is at least the initial content strategy.
Yeah. Totally.
Okay? So the other thing we need to talk about is the domain name. And of course, we haven't picked one yet, but we're going to be a little bit different. We want to do a brandable domain. My domain for my survival knife site is certainly not brandable. bestsurvivalknifeguy.com. It's 4 words. People aren't going to remember it. I'm just simply relying on the Google traffic and having that keyword in my domain. But we've decided, to take a little bit different approach, try to create something that's memorable, and we can certainly still rank for all these keywords. You don't have to have the keyword in your domain.
Yeah.
Google's really turned down the importance of having the keyword in your domain. I do still think if you had the exact match domain or keyword in the domain, there's a little bit of help there.
Yeah.
But because we're going to be targeting so many different keywords here for you, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And in the long run, if you can build a brand, you're going to make a lot more money anyways.
Right.
So I don't know if we need to clarify any points there for people listening in, but I guess I'll just put here that an EMD is not required, a partial match is not required. So something brandable, using my survival knife. Let's think on our feet here, Perrin. What would be something brandable, for a survival knife related domain name? Something like,
Mm,
thenifeguy.com or, yeah. Anyways, I think people, knife mojo, knife, whatever. So that would be something brandable. Something that doesn't necessarily focus on the keywords and is memorable, hopefully.
yeah, totally.
So that's what we're going to do. I don't know,
Yeah, there's something that we briefly touched on via IM this week that we or that you so we could talk about in the call, and that was the difference between the top level domains. So .com, .net, .org. Does that make a difference at all?
Yeah, so I always really prefer the .com. If you're going to get a site that you're not worried about having a keyword in it,
Mm-hmm.
I always say, what, people remember a .com better. It's just natural, when you say, hey, what's your website? It's such and such. And if you say, well, .us or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
it's a little harder to remember. People don't think about that. So a .com is more memorable. So definitely get a .com if you can. In terms of ranking, it really doesn't matter. A .net or .org will rank just as well as a .com. It's just for that memorable fact. Hopefully, if you're, the idea is you're going to build a brand, and if you want something people can remember when they type into their browser. They'll just put the .com and remember it easy. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, so it's like it's more of the human side of SEO.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Um,
definitely.
And something related to this that I read one time, and I have no idea if it's true, but you can tell me, is that .com, .net, .org are sometimes better for SEO as opposed to say like a .info, just
Hmm.
because their click-through rate is higher when people are looking at the results because there's just more trust with those types of domains. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I haven't done any research or read any research on that, but I think that makes sense, and that's sort of my thought is that
Yeah.
those three are a little bit have a little bit more trust. They're the three main ones, and I always only buy those three
Yeah.
extensions. I never buy .infos, .us, .co, .co, .whatever.
Yeah.
Other people might have different opinions, and maybe there's no difference for ranking. It's very possible. But with those three extensions, you can certainly come up with a domain name that is, memorable and has all the everything else in it that you need.
For sure.
Um, so I think we're ready to just have you take some action here. Actually,
Yeah.
so let's figure out what your assignments are. Now that you've found your keyword, you need to pick a brandable domain name. And so that, we'll give you a few days to think about that. Then, it would also be great if you could set up hosting,
Uh-huh.
set up WordPress, um, and I'm just thinking of whether or not we want to have you at least start working on your first two articles.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to say have them done because certainly those first two are going to take a little bit more time
Yeah.
with research, and maybe you're going to want to create some charts and things like that.
Yeah.
So at least start working on those first two articles. Um, Anything else for an assignment, do you think?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that'll fill up my week pretty good.
Yeah. No, I think so. And for people listening that maybe want to see how to set up WordPress or set up a hosting, I can link to some other videos where I've already shown that on video because I know you've done that before, Perrin.
Mm-hmm.
So you might not have any questions there. But in a future call, we will dive into WordPress a little bit more on the back end for installing certain plugins, how to configure different things for SEO and things like that, maybe even next week. So let's leave that as the assignment and let you start doing what you do best, and that's writing content.
That's right. Let's get it built.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I think actually you're going to do really well. I don't know if I'm ready to make this prediction, but it's very possible that this site you're going to create is going to make more money than my best survival knife site because it's a little bit bigger niche, if you will. I think you're going to have a chance to get more traffic.
That would be cool. If that happens, I will owe you a beer or a soda or whatever your fancy is.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, so we will all be in debt just being able to watch you have some success. So it'll be awesome either way, watching you along the way. So we
Cool.
appreciate it very much.
Yep. Yep. Me too.
So if there's no other questions, I guess we'll end the call.
Awesome. Yeah. Sounds good.
All right, good luck this week. We appreciate it. We'll see you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, we'll see you.